All right.
We're ready.
Ready. So, I'm going to pass the reins on to Brandon for the rest of the episode, but I just want to start out with another, just a little disclaimer. Our dear co-host Chris is not with us tonight because we are currently forcing him to watch all of The Last of Us because, he's very weird about that and he hasn't seen it all. So we locked him in a room with the TVs, and once he's done, he can come back on Stacked. So
he gets no food.
No food.
Mm-mm.
Wait, Brandon, you haven't watched either, right?
Yeah, but you can't stop me.
All right, so we're gonna go and
Despicable behavior.
For those of you listening, I kicked him off the Discord, but now he's back.
I thought my internet dropped, and for a second I was like,
I was actually shocked.
I thought that was just like the world having perfect timing.
Nope, that
And
was
like
me
that?
being a sick puppet master.
more of a petty little
Petty little what, huh?
Say it.
Say it.
wanker.
Oh, you really offended him. What the heck?
We have fun here. We really do have fun here. It's all fun and games here.
He left.
I'm here back, but I'm back now. I'm here back. I'm back here. Here I
Okay.
am. Okay.
Anyway, welcome to our newest After Hours episode. Today we're going to be discussing the Oscars. Yay!
Yahoo!
We're recording this the day after, and it's fresh in our minds and our hearts. And we actually had a party yesterday at little Joey's place,
Do you want to introduce the people on our show?
Oh,
Do
yeah,
host.
I guess they've already made themselves known, so like I didn't.
They don't know who they are.
No,
It's just
they can interpret based on what we call
Nah.
them. No,
just never
kidding.
gonna say their names.
No.
I don't know who I am until you introduce me.
Yeah.
Joining us today, aside from Ethan,
Hello.
is Joey and Tori, our favorite movie couple.
And that's all we are.
That
Hey.
is literally all I
All-
think of you two.
And all will ever be.
All you'll ever be.
If coming from the closet.
Yeah,
Literally.
we have set up a little station here in our closet. It's a nice little voice booth, different than last time I was on. I had the luxury of a nice Foley stage, but
Couldn't afford it
gotta
this
make
time,
do.
huh?
Couldn't get it again. But
You spent a
yeah,
lot
here
of
we
money
are.
to get that just to record your guest episode. And stuff.
I spent something in the thousands for that episode.
See,
to guess
that's what happens
on
when
that
you want to guess for the $1 million podcast, the Stacked podcast. All right, that's the lengths that people go. So if you ever want to guess on Stacked, just think twice before reaching out. Just saying.
Check your bank account first.
Yeah, you better cough up the cashish. All right.
I'm in quite a bit of debt already. And yeah, I'm in financial ruin. But
Financial
here I am
debt
again.
and emotional debt to us. So
Yeah.
But enough
because
about that.
We let you on.
Nobody cares. Like,
Okay.
if he's in debt, it's fine.
Okay.
Start a GoFundMe.
Not you. Not you. Let's talk about your credit card debt, Brandon. So you just paid off your credit card debt, but you're a little broke too, right? You were just.
I'm getting
telling us
paid
last
in
night.
2 days. Blu-rays
We'll
don't.
see.
Blu-rays don't come cheap,
I'm just still shocked that you told me how much money was in your bank account last night. And, like a few days after you showed me that you you sent me a
Before?
picture of like
Yeah.
50 Blu-rays that you bought. And
It
I'm
was
like,
not 50. It was,
It was like okay, you sent me one picture that had like 10 of them, and then another one that had like a bunch of them, and then all the Bond movies too.
Yeah, but those I had those for years. I just had never seen them before.
So you just sent me a picture of them with the movies you bought.
No,
So you lied.
no, you lied.
Liar.
I didn't lie. You said, "Look at these movies I got." So you're just
Yeah.
showing me movies you already own. What's
Yeah.
so special about that? Don't do that to me.
Okay.
All right.
Don't get
host
mad
the
at
show.
me.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll quit bugging you.
Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming. The 95th Annual Academy Awards were yesterday, and it was a good show. I think it was a relatively drama-less production. There was no slappings to be had. There was no
Unfortunately.
There, unfortunately for some, there were no
What are you
category.
talking about? What's slapping?
Oh,
That's true.
Did
Why
you
would-
hear?
Did something happen last year?
Um,
You're
we
gonna
don't
wanna
need to
sit
get
down for
into
this
that.
story.
We don't. Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into this or not. But last year, William Smith got on stage and slapped Chris
What?
Rock.
That's the first I'm hearing about this.
Well, it was a big thing. We don't
He
need
could
to
have
do it.
died. He could have died. Judd Apatow was right. And they thought that they'd bring the cocaine bear.
He almost mauled Malala. Did you see that? That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, that was
the worst part.
cringy.
That was
I
the
thought
worst
Cocaine
part.
was-
Bear. Cocaine Bear is she, right?
Oh,
And
you're
yeah, but
right.
they kept misgendering the cocaine bear.
I
Even
just
Elizabeth
misgendered.
Banks did
That's
it.
fucked up.
She called
That's-
cocaine bear a he.
And she directed it.
She directed the movie.
Well, you know how like cats are girls and dogs are boys?
Bears.
Like,
Bear-
are bears
bears are
boys?
boys.
Bears are boys.
What
Bears
about
are
the
for the
cocaine?
boys.
What
Let's
about the
just-
cocaine baby?
Cocaine baby?
Yeah.
Play the clip. The boss baby. That's coke on his ass.
But it was there were no category mix-ups or anything like that. I thought it was a really well-made production. I don't know about if you guys wanted to mention anything about the shows before we got into the winner, because it's a big deal to all of us. I mean, I feel like it is. I don't know.
I'm personally still shocked about the dunk on Babylon in the opening monologue.
Yeah,
dude.
they
That was
Babylon as
mean.
a whole, like between Kimmel absolutely roasting it in his opening monologue and just losing categories, it probably should have won. Like Babylon had a pretty terrible night.
Babylon got cucked.
Yeah, it really did.
Absolutely cucked. Oh
It makes me feel bad because even people who aren't necessarily big fans of the movie, I know you, Joey and Tori, you guys weren't really big fans of the movie. Like the score and the production design is pretty great, if not the best of the field.
They were my
I-
predictions.
Mine too. It was, and then All Quiet on the Western fuck, as I like to call it now. It stole those awards. Does not deserve the. I was like, get out of here with that. With this dubstep.
Do you wait? Okay, speaking of, do you know a little song called "Shawty's Fire Burning on the Dance Floor"?
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
I don't know what it's called. The Sean Kingston song.
Yeah.
And then it plays the dubstep sound off after it, and it goes. "Ba-da-da." It's the same song.
It is. Holy shit.
Play the clip. Actually, don't. We'll get. Well,
Yeah, we'll get.
we're not monetized, so.
So that's your
Well,
Oscar.
we could still get our video removed. Or privated.
The banned episode of Stacked.
The
Unrated, stacked
the
unrated.
unrated stacked episode. I thought the show was okay. Old Jimmy Boy, you know, he had a couple of nice jokes. Well, there was one joke he had that we all thought was funny. I forgot what it was.
So was it really that funny?
Yeah, was it really?
So I
that
guess it
funny?
wasn't that funny. I remember remarking. I was like, that was a good one, but I guess it wasn't a good one because I don't remember it. Oh well.
I think his worst jokes were the ones where he tried to do like the crowd work, where he's in there, like the cocaine bear stuff. was,
Those
like-
have never worked. They've never worked.
the only one that worked for me was the selfie.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I loved that.
Shut up, bro.
A selfie.
Do you remember,
Remember-
Ellen DeGeneres when she hosted back when people still liked her? She
Right.
wanted to like create the
Now we
most
just-
viral selfie ever.
She
So
did.
she got like all these celebrities together, like Robert De Niro, Jennifer Lawrence. I think Kevin Spacey is in there just to give you a
Yep.
sense of the time period. And she just took a selfie with like all these celebrities, and it went viral.
Lupita Nyong'o's in that image. I think it was the 2013 Oscars.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. It was somewhere around the mid 2010s.
Yeah. That worked for
Yeah.
me. But every other bit, Glenn Close twerking, nah, that ain't it, Chief.
What about
Aw.
when they ordered pizza?
No, I didn't like that. That
Oh,
was
I
the
do remember when they ordered pizza.
No.
That was I like that because I like
What?
Big Mama's Big Papa's pizza. So
But I feel from a production aspect, the show went off. I thought it was really well paced. How they did the awards. They had left presenters come out, and I loved that in the background on the screen they could like projection map or put on the screen like, oh, every nominee, and then they like pulled out like examples of the nominees rather than just saying the name of the film and like awarding it accordingly. Because that I felt like it was actually like people caring about movies. Because in previous years, like they make fun of the films that are nominated because they're not really well known. Like it's not like in previous years, it's like, oh, this movie made no money. Right. And then everybody laughs because nobody saw that movie.
Well, they did do that this year, though.
Yeah, but Babylon lost $100 million.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
We were literally just talking about that. They did that.
No, but like for the movies that were nominated for Best Picture that people actually did see and that they did nominate versus something that they didn't really nominate all that much. I was like really glad because they made an effort to make jokes out of things without necessarily dunking on the films that were going to win and were getting nominated, except for something like, I don't know, The Fabelmans. I don't know.
Yeah, he went down on Spielberg.
Spielberg
making fun of his mom and stuff like that. I don't know.
There was one joke in there that I was feeling a little nervous for Stevie Spielberg, but I think he played it off like a champ. I think he handled himself graciously during that whole ordeal.
He should have slapped him. He should have slapped Jimmy Kimmel.
Could you imagine Steven Spielberg, 76-year-old?
He comes
Steven
up like Will
Spielberg
Smith holding his coat, like.
Yeah.
Keep my mom's name out of your fucking mouth. Oh, it writes itself. Come on.
You should have done that.
They should have got that.
They should have done that.
They should have done that. Yeah, no, but I really like the production design. I remember when Pinocchio won, and like they like made the background look like the Pinocchio town. I was like, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So just love for movies, you know. I liked it.
We love movies. Did anything stand out to you guys, Joey and Tori?
Well, I mean, you talked about the pacing, and I remember Joe being pretty upset about, I guess, the pacing of the speeches.
Well, listen,
oh, yeah.
There was a lot of, I mean, the Oscars always do this, but there was like a lot of bullshit that they put on there, like the stupid Little Mermaid promo.
That's never been done before.
They had that. Warner Brothers bought like an ad where Margot Robbie and Morgan Freeman came out and just talked about, and there was like a thing about Warner Brothers, and like I found it really ironic that right after Pinocchio won, because Disney didn't really have a animated short player this year, they like bought out an ad that took up like 5 minutes or whatever. But of course, like the documentary short nominees had to be played off, or the makeup winners had to be played off. Like it pisses me off when they play off the winners of under the line categories when like they put on all these stupid ads that nobody cares about that could be like saved for an ad break. Like I don't know why it has to take up part of the show. So that's a critique of the pacing, I would say. But as a whole, I mean, yeah, like Brandon said, it was very uneventful, but that's like a good thing considering how the past few years have been.
COVID year, they had it in a station,
and I feel like that there was such a pressure to give like short speeches that I feel like the nominee, like the winners who were allowed longer speeches, like I felt like those speeches weren't that powerful because they felt like they needed to give out a quick speech. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the only one that I think really worked was Ke Huy Quan's speech. Like that's the only one I really remember because his personality is already so quick, you know?
Yeah.
And you know what he just said about like your dreams and stuff. I remember that, but like Brendan Fraser's speech, I just felt like he was just like, I don't know, you know, he just thanked people and then left, you know. You know, I don't remember him really saying anything.
Maybe the Oscars should just accept a 4-hour show. The consequences of a 4-hour show being they're going to run into the news hour on the East Coast, and that they're going to allow everybody to speak as long as they have to, because there are, for makeup and stuff like that, there are like 3 or 4 nominees that are involved with one particular project, and only one of them is going to get to speak for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they can get, and then they're, I remember reading an article like right before the Oscars, and they're like, it was the producers of the show, and it's like, it's not like we like playing these people off. We don't want to do it. Like, if they're giving a heartfelt speech, then we're not going to play them off. But if they're not giving a heartfelt speech, then, oh well. And I'm like, oh. So they're just saying come prepared. And I'm not on their side at all. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the SAG Awards or any other award show recently, but they like, maybe it's because it's streaming online and there's like a lack of reliability on like ads and such, but they let people speak as long as they want. At the SAG Awards, James Hong, during that Best SAG Ensemble speech,
That was so good.
So good.
That
4 or
was
5
he
minutes.
he completely stole the show. I'm glad
Yeah.
he got his moment, after like 7 decades working in this industry. He finally had a moment to take the stage and speak on their behalf. That was really cool. And it was so cool seeing him win last night as well. Just it kind of felt like a culmination of a lot of careers there. Like within that cast. Like I think that's the big thing about Everything Everywhere. It's just that cast is just undeniable. Like you fall in love with them so easily.
which brings us to the big winner of the night. 11 nominations, 7 wins, the most since Gravity in 2013, the most by a Best Picture winner since Slumdog Millionaire in 2008. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I don't know if you guys have been following the Twitter conversation today and last night, but it hasn't necessarily been the most positive embracing of a film that's won Best Picture. And
I feel like that's just like, I don't know. One of my biggest critiques of Twitter is that the discourse on there can just get very negative because the algorithm will benefit those tweets that are either angry or combative in any way, and they're going to feed those opinions to you. It's very rare that you just see nothing but positivity on social media apps. So I think like Twitter's just always going to be negative, but like, I don't know. I watched The Oscar Expert on YouTube, and one thing that they brought up in their reaction video to the Oscars is that like Everything Everywhere is going to ultimately have like such a good impact on the future of film on future filmmakers, just because it's so inspiring. Like in a film class years down the road, like when they ask young film students like what film like got them into filmmaking and inspired them to start, I bet a lot of them are going to bring up Everything Everywhere.
I mean, we have a lot of people our age who adore this movie, and I think all of us, I think we all give it at least a 4.5 or higher on Letterboxd or something.
Methinks so.
Methinks. But I do have like a fair share of people that I know who are not fans of this movie, who will look at it and they see it as this silly mess of a movie. But I started to watch it last night. I didn't get to finish it because I had to get somebody home. But
Somebody.
Yeah, I
I
wonder
slept
who.
over at Brandon's and he had to drive me back home. Yeah. Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Next time, don't drink so much.
Hey, you can't blame me. Those drinks at the Oscars party
Yeah.
were pretty good.
Wait,
Got a
wait.
shout out.
So we got to shout out Tori here.
Yes.
Tori,
we
Tori,
do.
why don't you describe what you did for our Oscar party yesterday?
I curated a menu for each Best Picture nominee and had a little cocktail that would you could pick whatever movie you want and have a coinciding cocktail.
Did any movie not get ordered?
Tar.
Weird, because that's my favorite movie of the bunch.
I think it was the
Tar.
Pink Lady, which needs egg whites, and I think people don't like ordering things with raw eggs in it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me. The
Yeah.
most ordered was by far Avatar.
It was
Just 'cause
good.
By me
it's
alone.
a fruity, easy drink.
The
I
Tito's
had
Tide
like
Pool.
2 or 3 of those. It was so good.
If we were voting on Best Picture by the drinks, Avatar won Best Picture. That's all I gotta
True.
say. Oh,
Yeah.
Finally, you can say it, Brandon.
yeah. But I mean, to get back to what we were saying about Everything Everywhere, thank you, Tori, for your drinks last night. They were wonderful. I love the Fablemans.
You're welcome.
But I just think when I'm looking at this movie, I think there are going to be a lot of people who are annoyed by this movie and who view it as this immature piece of art. But when I was watching it last night, like I've seen the movie 3 times completely already. And I can tell you, like, it's such a well-made movie from start to finish. Yeah, it might be like 10 minutes too long, 20 minutes too long pacing wise for me. But I think, like, structurally, it's a fantastic movie and a very worthy winner of the award.
And it's just a different kind of movie, you know? You can't really, like, comp any other movie to it. You know what I mean? And just, like, it just felt so fresh. And I'm so happy that, like, a movie that felt so fresh was, like, got the deserve. What am I talking? Sorry. I am so sleepy. That's why I'm letting Brandon host this episode. I'm very tired. I don't know why. That's why I'm so happy it got all the awards it deserved, because I hope this means studios now start to focus their attention more towards films that, like, people, like, want to be curious about and explore and, like, have new experiences with, you know? Like, I'm so glad that, like, no Green Books were praised this year. I mean, All Quiet on the Western Front, like, we still have, like, you know, a foot in the past right there. It's like, do we really need to, like, praise another war movie? Like, we've seen...
War's bad, Ethan.
War's bad. I got it. I heard it well and clear through my whole life watching war movies. You know what? I want to make a movie where war is good. I'm going to be like, I love war. I want to kill people. And everyone's going to be like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of
Marvel,
like,
man.
that's Top Gun Maverick, actually. So never mind. It's already been nominated.
I just don't know the last time a war movie actually won Best Picture. I feel like it was like the 80s. Platoon.
I mean, it should have been Saving Private Ryan in '99.
Wait. Oh, Hurt Locker. Oh, wait. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, Hurt Locker.
But, like, it doesn't feel like a war movie if you watch it.
Well, because it's modern war.
Modern Warfare. Call of Duty.
Nice.
Good game.
Nice reference. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
I don't know. Did you guys have any awards that stuck out to you outside of Everything Everywhere, as far as, like, oh, what was really deserved or what you felt was, like, a big snub of the night?
Okay, well, one last thing on the Everything Everywhere, like, is it too immature or any of that kind of debate?
Yeah.
I think down the line it's going to be very reflective of 2022. I think we're seeing a lot more silly movies, and I think it's been really good for, like, moviegoers. Like, we're getting Cocaine Bear, we're getting Mithrigan, all the Universal releases, basically, right?
They're killing it.
And I think it was kind of started by this energy that's been started by Everything Everywhere. And I do think it's mostly older generations that are saying it's immature, are saying it's too silly. When there's nothing wrong with a silly movie, and it's really what I've been missing from, like, what I like from 80s movies, or what I've been craving for these past 2 years, was that, like,
Campiness.
letting looseness and campiness, and not just discounting it as a bad movie because it's campy.
Right. Like, some of the most memorable experiences I've had in a theater has been when I saw Cocaine Bear with you and Justin, Tori, on a Tuesday night. That theater was electric. It was packed, and it was electric. And then when we all saw Violent Night, that was crazy. I had such a fun time seeing that. Mithrigan, not good, but like, just so many other creative, like, and maybe it's just because, like, you know, we live in movie town, so maybe it's probably not the same for everybody across the country, you know, but it's still just so fun to see, like, these bombastic, creative, risk-taking movies play in a theater and actually have a bunch of people go out and support it, you know? It's just, yeah, it's wonderful. And the people who are hating it, I just feel like it happens every year, like Joey said. Like, it happened with Coda, you know? It happened with, it certainly happened with Green Book. It happened, I just remember, it happens with everyone, and I feel like the only one it didn't happen to was Parasite. I never saw anybody talk shit about Parasite, and that, I'm like, that makes sense. But you know, that sort of mentality only lasts for, like, a few weeks, and I'm like, months and years from now, people are gonna remember, like, the 2023 Oscars is, like, a really good show that awarded a film that truly deserved it. I feel, you know.
Yeah, and definitely going off of that, like, as much as I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, one of the reasons this was one of the Oscars I was following, this is the most I've ever tracked the Oscars before, because there were so many movies I was really excited about. And I guess one of the downsides of Everything Everywhere's supremacy is just there were a lot of other really good movies that walked away empty-handed, which was kind of a bummer to see, like movies like The Banshees of Inisherin and Tar and The Fablemans, which was my favorite movie of last year. And it was just like all these movies where it's like you want it would have been nice to see like the wealth spread a little bit amongst the awards. Like there's definitely other categories, like honestly screenplay, I honestly would have loved to have seen that gone to Banshees.
Oh yeah.
As original as Everything Everywhere is, I think that film, in my opinion, this may raise some feathers, is much more of a directing achievement than I would say a writing one necessarily. And Banshees is so well written that it's like it's a bummer that a screenplay like that doesn't win anything.
100% agree.
And you know, Spielberg, I think, made one of the most touching and heartfelt autobiographies ever made. And Tar, which is like Brandon's favorite movie of last year, or no, second favorite.
Yeah.
And which is like such an intelligent and well-crafted film. And it's just a bummer that some of these other movies didn't walk away with anything. And it was, and Everything Everywhere was a deserving winner. And then All Quiet just kind of cleaned up everything else, it seemed like. So it would have been nice to see some other winners, some other films get rewarded in other categories. But you know, not every year is gonna go exactly how you want. So
Yeah, it didn't go my way. If it would have gone my way, RRR would have been nominated for Best Picture and won.
Let's talk about that not to performance though.
Oh my!
Because I think it lived up. I think they killed it.
I just wish that they would have shown the crowd, because it seemed like they had.
There was a party in there. Everybody was hyped.
Yeah, and I'm like, how did this not get nominated for anything else? Did people just not see it, and they heard the song and saw the video of that, and they were like, yeah, let's just nominate the song? Or was it really because India didn't submit it for its international feature? They're like, well, since it can't win both, we have to pick something else. Because that to me is crazy. It seems like there was a lot of love in that room for the crew of RRR and such.
I think it was a weak campaign.
Yeah.
That's it. I just think they didn't try very hard to campaign it for American awards.
I don't think that they even expected.
Because when you look at it, it's not India's best. It's just India's film that broke through.
That's
And
true.
you talk to any Indian about like what they think about RR, they're like, yeah, it's good, but we have so many other great films. Why is this the one that got through?
Well,
so
if it got through, then why not push it?
Probably thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I had an Indian foreign exchange student who was very much into film when I was in high school. And he always talked about how Indian film was much better than American film and any other foreign film, because Bollywood was one of the largest industries. And there is actually like great competition between like Bollywood and Tollywood and like all the different like types of film industries in India. And that obviously because Bollywood is like a large sect of India, because it's Hindi, it's like the primary language of a lot of Indian filmmakers and a lot of Indian citizens, that they're like, of course, they weren't even going to give RR its due. My foreign exchange student visited a few months ago, probably in like September. And I remember going to dinner with him, and he was like, oh, is there any like new films out that you saw that you were like a big fan of? And I was like, oh, there was this great Tollywood movie I saw called RRR. And he's like, RRR? And I'm like, what? You've seen it? You didn't like it? And he's like, no, I haven't seen it. It just looks so shit. And I said, how can you make that like decision? And he's like, well, based on what like that Tollywood puts out, I don't expect much from them, so I never watch any of their films. So it's this automatic assumption, and I think there's this sense of like superiority from the Hindi speaking audience, because there's a majority in that. Because the majority of India is Hindi speaking. So I would expect that from that competitive atmosphere between those, and that bothers me personally. Now I'm not on the ground, so I can't speak for it. But I mean, I love that movie, so why not? You know,
You should go over to India and do something about it.
I'm gonna ascend.
Have your own little white savior arc. guys, these movies are both good.
You're the man for the job, Brandon.
That's the
Break it
next.
up,
That's the
break it
next.
up.
That's the next movie that's gonna win Best Picture at the Oscars.
It's like called Daddy Brandon Goes to
Brandon
India.
No, it's just like you. Every time we have an advancement like this, Parasite wins Best Picture, or Everything Everywhere is gonna. We have a Green Book, like an equal and opposite reaction. Give it a year or two, and we'll have something like
It
that.
usually does. Like, I would say, like, honestly, with the Oscars, it does feel like every other year is like a really good year, and then it's usually followed up by like kind of a dud. Like, I would say, honestly, like, looking back at last year's Oscars compared to like those films compared to this year's films, it's like night and day. There wasn't anything last year that I was like really excited about.
See,
But this year there was
yeah.
like at least 5 or 6 that I was like really rooting for in different ways.
It's like
See,
Congress.
looking back on it, it's like last year I liked most of the films that were nominated, but I didn't love a lot of them. Whereas this year, I would say like there were like 6 nominees that I was like Joey just said, like that I really liked. Like
Yeah.
Banshees, Triangle of Sadness, Avatar and Top Gun, Tar, Everything Everywhere. I'm just like big fan of all of those.
It was a very competitive year, yeah.
But
I think it could have also been a pandemic thing. Just speaking for the last 2 years, you know, whereas like 2020 movies, like
who saw them?
Well, 2020, it was cool that year because I felt like movies like Nomadland and Sound of Metal and even
They
Promising
would have
Young
never
Women.
have gone. Yeah.
Exactly. Like there was like a lot of movies that came out that year that wouldn't have gotten attention in a normal year. So if anything, I thought that year was like kind of interesting in that aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, 100% pandemic has had and will continue to have a lasting impact on the industry and the kind of films that get made. So
But I felt like this was like the first year where there was like these really big like high quality films that like studios held off on to like release at a time when, you know, when everyone could go see it. And so that's why we got all the floodgates of all these amazing films, you know, that lined up our Best Picture nominees. And we'll see if they do that again in 2023. I mean, Scorsese pushed his film to this year. Got 2 Wes Anderson films, you know. Grand Budapest Hotel, I think, was a Best Picture nominee the year it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of other movies we don't even know about, you know.
Was there anything that made you upset? Like any winner that was like,
Yes.
All Quiet.
Yeah, All Quiet.
Should we talk about the All Quiet sweep?
Especially for soundtrack. That original score. I wanted Babylon to win so bad.
That was like probably the biggest groan in the room when it happened.
That made me so mad because like I have not stopped listening to Babylon's score. I think it's like one of the best movie scores in the past like 5 years, maybe.
And it's just, and everybody's saying it's because the Academy like really didn't like Babylon. Take it from me, I didn't like Babylon either. I do not like that movie, but it's still my favorite score of last year by far. I still think it was way deserving. Like I was able to separate my dislike for that movie with like the craft of the score. I thought Justin Hurwitz should have won for sure. And it's a much more memorable score than All Quiet. All Quiet, all I remember is the dubstep 3 notes. That's literally all I remember. Any other part of the score did not stick out to me at all.
The only 2 scores that actually stood out to me of the nominees were Babylon and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I would have liked to have seen Everything Everywhere. If any movie were to upset Babylon, it would have been cool to see that movie. Because I think that score is actually really good too.
Because it feels like a Reznor score almost in like the electronics it uses, and like it's like experimental. And then Babylon is like infectious, and it like sets the pace of the movie whether you like it or not. And then when I think of Banshees and Fabelmans, I'm like, those are scores that to me are very much of the oeuvre of like, this is a score that is like made for the Oscars. John Williams made this for the Oscars. Banshees is a period score. It's going to sound like a period score. And then All Quiet is like, who said it last night? Was it you, Ethan? Like discount Hans Zimmer or something?
I don't know. Someone did, not me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take credit for that.
Yeah.
But it's a good comparison. That is a good comparison.
Yeah.
Nope should have been nominated for score.
That's
I can't
what
stop
I'm
listening to the
saying.
score for Nope.
Nope should have been nominated for a lot of things.
For so
But it was in the
Sound.
opening montage.
Yeah.
I was like,
that was
okay.
or like
That made me so mad.
that actually made me most mad was that they played movies in the montage that were not nominated for a single award. Like, what the like? Oh, if you're gonna put like Crimes of the Future in your thing, have it nominated for makeup and hairstyling.
Oh, why wasn't that nominated for hairstyle? Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh. Made
But
me
that's
so mad.
that stuff bothers me. I get that they're trying to honor every movie, but then show it in like your nominations. Even if that means that there are like 70 movies nominated for Oscars,
Yeah.
spread the love. Because
I'd much prefer that.
a nomination
Mhm.
for one movie, one nomination for one movie is enough to make somebody watch it. Somebody. Causeway, for example. I watched that movie because Brian Tyree Henry was nominated, and I did like
Yeah.
it. I did like it. But like that's another thing. After Sun. How many people probably watched After Sun because it was nominated for Best Lead Actor?
Yeah, I did because it was on my list. I wanted to watch all the major acting awards and all the major. I tried to get to as many as I could this year, and After Sun absolutely knocked me out of my socks. I thought it was such a beautiful movie, and it literally crashed my top 10 of last year after watching it. And I watched it like right before the ceremony. It was like I think it was the last nominated film that I watched before the ceremony, and I was absolutely blown away. And I thought it should have been nominated for director as well, but that's a
And
separate
editing.
conversation.
I think.
The editing was so good.
Did you
Beautiful
guys
film.
have any opinions on All Quiet winning production design or cinematography? Because if we're continuing on this train, we might as well.
I think that in terms of production design, while impressive, I'm sure, like every film nominated, like it's easy for us to discount if we don't like the movie, but like there's still like hundreds of people and so many hours of labor that went into creating these films. Like everything that was nominated was impressive in its own right if you actually break it down. So not to like discredit any of the work on All Quiet, but like the production design of that is like we've seen World War I movies before. We've seen like honestly like a movie that I think should have been way more considered for production design is Avatar. Because that's like there's no basis for that world. James Cameron and his team literally had to create an entire world and design it and taking elements from the real world and creating this alien atmosphere that we've never experienced before. And people kept discrediting it because it's not practical, but it's still production design. There's still like so much thought into creating a believable world. And I just think that's so much more impressive than just kind of copying and pasting what other war movies have done in the past and having like a ton of historical references to always fall back on. So I don't know. I think it's an underwhelming win in my opinion, but like I said, I'm sure that like the team worked incredibly hard to make that film a reality. So
it's just like you feel like that they shared like they probably went to like a World War I prop house, and just got all the stuff from there that we've seen and used in like movies like 1917 and stuff like that. It's just like it didn't feel so unique and fresh for it to be like to have all these accolades, But I feel like something like if we're talking about like Avatar, like if we're going into animation, I think Pinocchio should have been nominated for
yes. Oh my god, the design of that movie is beautiful.
Where that is physical production design in animated form and just like making miniatures and miniature towns and like decorating every single one of those rooms with so much life.
See,
incredible.
I can't remember if an animated film has ever been nominated.
It probably hasn't.
Maybe Kubo. That's the only one because
it got nominated for visual effects.
Exactly. It got outside of the animation feature category. And usually outside of animated feature, if you're nominated for, you only get like a screenplay, nom or something like that usually, or a song. Those are the only two that will typically pair.
Yeah.
Like, that was so strange. I wish we'd seen an animated film get nominated for Best Picture. I think we should start to see that again with 10 nominees, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't happened since Toy Story 3, because I know Up and Toy Story 3 were both nominated for Best Picture,
Yeah.
and then before that it was Beauty and the Beast, and I don't think there's been any other animated Best Picture nominees outside of those three. I could be wrong, but...
I'm just saying, how Miyazaki has a new film coming out this year.
It should be his last one.
And this one should... He said his last one was his last one, but this one I feel like is gonna be his last one. He's getting pretty fucking old.
He's a liar and he can't be trusted.
Those movies, he has such an eye for production design. That could get nominated. I don't even know what it looks like, but I'm just going to say it could probably get nominated. It's probably going to look gorgeous. That could get some accolades, too, if they want to celebrate that filmmaker. I mean, they had a whole exhibit for him at the Academy Museum, you know? The Academy does love Miyazaki, so...
If it turns out super great, like, who knows? Who knows what could happen? Let's talk about acting. Let's talk about the acting winners. I'd love to talk about that because Everything Everywhere won 3 acting awards, which is pretty unheard of.
That has never happened for a Best Picture winner, ever.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's ever happened in general.
I think Network did.
Network probably,
and
maybe one more movie. Let me see if I can find the stat.
Yeah. Be the stats, man. But what did you guys think of I feel like all the the big best actor, best actress, and best supporting, those ones we all saw coming, right? I think we all saw those ones coming. Best supporting though, that caused a little upset, you know? What was your guys' take on Jamie Lee Curtis getting that award? Because I feel like that was
I predicted it, and I'm happy that I predicted it, but I'm upset that she won. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think, when you walk away from Everything Everywhere, you're not thinking about Jamie Lee Curtis. You're not. I think every other, nominee in that, including Stephanie Hsu, who I don't understand why Jamie Lee Curtis had the edge on Stephanie Hsu. I guess it's just because Jamie Lee Curtis is well known and she's been working for a long time, but Stephanie Hsu's performance in that was a lot more complicated and a lot more impressive in my opinion. And she's at the heart of the film. So, and even Hong Chow and everybody, Hong Chow was always dead last in all the predictions. And Hong Chow is incredible in The Whale.
She's probably my favorite.
She's so good. She gives Brendan Fraser a run for his money in terms of who has the best performance in that film. And it was a stacked category. Angela Bassett, who has the same narrative as Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Yet she doesn't get the award. And even Carrie Condon, who was a highlight in Banshee. She stole every scene she was in. I just feel like all of those performances were a lot more deserving. And I think Jamie Lee Curtis, while I like her a lot, I don't dislike her as an actress, and I'm glad that she has that award and she really campaigned that movie hard, which I respect. But at the same time, it does feel like this weird just networking thing. And it just, I don't know. I think the nomination was enough. I didn't think she needed to win.
I felt like they're awarding her and her legacy and her personality rather than her performance. You know? I think that was the only reason. I think they not really nominated her for her legacy, her personality, than her performance.
You can say that again.
I think they really nominated her for her legacy, her personality, rather than her performance. You know.
Tell me about it.
I think they really nominated her for her legacy.
No. Okay.
I just think this is such a normie award to give.
Yeah.
It's the most by the book, by the rules person to give it to.
Anything else would have been progressive.
they did give it to the white lady. Oh no, Gary Condon, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, but she's Irish.
That's true.
Harry Condon would at least be earned, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I was really rooting for Stephanie. I just really felt connected to her performance, but I hate the rule that she's too young, so she can't get it.
Which is, it's weird because I look at all the performances, and like Joey said, like Hong Chow and Stephanie Hsu were ranked last on every single prediction thing. And I look at those performances and I'm like, Stephanie Hsu was easily the best supporting performance of last year. Like, I remember watching that movie, and she's a relatively unknown actor. Like, she hasn't really been in much. Like, she was in a Broadway adaptation of SpongeBob.
That's
And
right.
she was in Shang-Chi in one scene or two scenes. She's one of
and then
the
and then
friends.
some like sitcom credits.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, like her performance in this movie anchors it. It is a true supporting performance, but it has a lot of time still to breathe and like be its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's positive LGBT representation too, which is great and very progressive. Like, say what you will, like Ariana DeBose, like last year for West Side Story, she was fine. I liked her in West Side Story, but that's her. On the outside, she's an LGBT actress. We're awarding her for that. Stephanie Hsu is not, and it makes me wonder, like, if she was actually like an LGBT actress, if she would have pulled through, and that would have been her narrative. Even though it's a terrific performance and terrific representation. I know you guys are making that face like it's a bad thing, but like it's what the Oscars do.
I just like, yeah, I think the age thing is such a bullshit like excuse. Be like, oh, you know, she was good, but she'll probably win another one some other year.
There's major seniority within the Academy.
But there's no guarantee though.
Exactly. You know, and there'd probably be even more of a guarantee that she'd be in another like highly acclaimed film with a great performance if she had won the Oscar, you know, because that gives her something that gives her clout to be in a film like that again, you know. But I feel like when she's just, you know, nominated and no one thinks anything of it, like that won't really do anything for her career. You know, I mean, she's probably gonna have a fantastic career. What am I saying? But like,
I hope so.
It could be better, you know, more deserving of the performance that she gave in that film.
Or is she going to be another, like, Saoirse Ronan or Amy Adams, who doesn't win for, like, 7... Or Glenn Close, even, who has never won before. And they just keep getting nominated and nominated and nominated. That's the thing. There are some people who are cursed to lose. And then they give it to somebody because they don't think they're ever going to get nominated again. I think that's probably going to happen with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
I think
he's done.
That happens. There was another nominee who won recently who's like that, but also people who just like, it's obvious they're going for Oscars and you're like, why did they get it? And it's like Renee Zellweger a few years ago for the Judy Garland movie. I'm like, what?
I don't know anyone who watched that movie. I remember when that happened.
Did you watch it, Brandon?
Like,
not even me.
Oh god.
He doesn't even know the title.
It's called Judy. That's it.
You could have guessed that. You could have guessed that. What's the Judy Garland movie called? Judy? All right.
Yeah.
But I think the other acting winners, honestly, like, is anyone complaining about the other acting winners? I feel like everybody else was really deserved. I remember going into the night, a lot of people were predicting Austin Butler over Brendan Fraser because A, he won the BAFTA, and apparently in previous years that means more than winning the SAG. And B, he was in the film that was nominated for Best Picture, and The Whale wasn't. And I just never...
Biopic.
Yeah, in the biopic about literally one of the most famous people ever. And I just never bought into that because the momentum for Brendan Fraser outside of the movie, some people didn't like the movie, and that's whatever, but like no one has really argued against Brendan Fraser's performance. Like no one has doubted that, and everybody wanted to see that comeback come into fruition. And Austin Butler's like an attractive white guy. Like, talk about people who will actually get another chance eventually.
Yeah.
Austin Butler will get another chance. Like, he did not need to win for that.
He's really good on iCarly too.
He's so good.
Yeah, that one episode where he can't sing. It's great. Ethan has no idea what we're talking about. Never seen that.
I don't.
I was thinking for Best Supporting Actor, because he was so guaranteed. There wasn't really like a campaign trail like hype for any of these other actors who did really well. So he was so guaranteed that we forgot to even like acknowledge the great work of the other 4 actors in this.
Who were they?
It was Brendan Gleeson, Brian Tyree Henry, Judd Hirsch, and Barry Keoghan.
Judd Hirsch, he was good, but it should have been Paul Dano.
Paul Dano, yeah.
I don't know. Judd Hirsch is a juggernaut in that scene. I don't care if it's one scene. Everybody remembers that scene. Paul Dano, he plays a mild-mannered dad. And that's great. That's cool. But Paul Dano has done more impressive work, even earlier in the year in The Batman, arguably.
I would have put David Lynch over Judd Hirsch.
What?
Whoa!
And Judd Hirsch's scene is literally like the thematic centerpiece of the film, where they just lay out.
I would have put
like,
Seth
Rogen
ahead of Judd Hirsch.
Give me a break.
I wouldn't have done that. Shut up, dude. But I did.
I don't know. But then again,
Lynch, I think of when I think of the Fabelmans, I think of that scene with David Lynch. Even though that has nothing to do with
I do
like,
too. I do too, but I also think about Judd Hirsch. I also think about the entire movie because I love the Fabelmans so much. I'm a Fabelmans and Spielberg stan, so
you're a Fabelmans
my opinion clearly is irrelevant in this. Yeah, I'm a Fable whore. But like, yeah, and then the Banshee boys, like all the performances in Banshees are so good too, and they never stood a chance. And Brian Tyree Henry with the surprise nomination, and I watched Causeway, and he's so good in that movie. Like his character is like so charismatic, and you like fall in love with him like instantly. If you haven't seen Causeway, it's really good.
The only reason to get an Apple TV Plus subscription? ?
Yeah, he should have got it for Bullet Train.
Yeah,
honestly, those Thomas the Tank.
Yeah, Thomas
Who's
the
the Diesel?
See, if there was an acting nominee that I wish would have actually like been, and it's not a supporting actor. Sorry to shift the discussion. I would have rather had Gabriel LaBelle for the Fabelmans and Best Actor.
Oh my god,
Tori's been thirsting over Gabriel LaBelle since she saw it.
He has a future. You know, this is like
he's so good.
This is like Spielberg picking out Christian Bale for Empire of the Sun. This is that level of a talent.
Dude, Spielberg, look at his casting record.
Drew Barrymore.
He literally just knows how to find a star.
Yeah.
Like, he just gets... Even Ke Huy Quan. Spielberg was the one who discovered him. Like, literally, like, so many of the people, like, so many of the acting winners, in some way, shape, or form, can thank him for having a piece in their success. Like, he's so good at casting.
I just loved young Spielberg, you know. I loved him.
He's so good. He's so good. He's the lead in that movie, and that's why Michelle Williams shouldn't have campaigned for lead. She would have had a way better chance. Let's be real. If Michelle Williams ended up in that supporting actress category, I think she could have just had it. She just could have won.
Yeah,
sure.
What competition?
I think still Stephanie Hsu was better than.
Oh, I'm not saying like in terms of who I think is better. I'm thinking in terms of like who would have won. Yeah. Like that would have been the meatiest performance. It would have been a chance because the Academy liked the Fabelmans. It's just there was no category where it was like the clear favorite. And I think if Michelle Williams was in that lineup, I think she would have won just because she had the meatiest performance. Probably I'm not saying she's necessarily the best. I'm saying she would have had the best chance of winning.
I would have put her at like number 4. If we had the same, Jamie Lee Curtis didn't get a nomination and Michelle Williams got a Best Supporting Actress nomination for that, I think I would have had her at like 4 of those nominees. I think she's better.
What they would have picked. Or
no, instead of what I would have picked. Yeah, okay. I think.
We're talking about what they would have picked.
I'm not. Who would have won? Like we are. Yeah. If let's in the scenario, and I don't even in that case. Like I don't even think that Jamie Lee Curtis would be the one to kick out. If I'm being honest, I think they've wanted to nominate her from the beginning. I think honestly, it's either Hong Chow or Stephanie Hsu that would have gotten because those were the surprise ones that people were worried about on Oscar morning.
Give me Dolly De Leon.
I know. Oh, she was so good. That was a snub. She was the best part of that movie.
She was great.
I agree.
Anyways,
what else there to talk about?
Michelle Yeoh.
Screenplays?
Or screenplays. Let's talk about screenplays. Enough acting.
We touched on it for a sec, but definitely I think Banshee should have won.
or Tar.
Original. I Tar
Too
Tar
long
was
and it
good.
sucks.
I
Fuck off.
I just those conversations in Banshees of Inisherin are so good. The dialogue is so sharp. It's just like, oh, that is like, I just love a script when it's just written for like, it just such a strong dialogue heavy script, you know, and it's like simple, but it's got twists and turns in it. I would have picked that for original. Adapted, All Quiet on the Western Front won that, right?
No, Women Talking.
Women Talking.
Sarah
that's
Polly
right.
got it.
Sarah
Wow.
Polly won. Or as Brandon would like to call
We
it.
have a man over here who
2023.
wasn't listening.
I fell asleep during that part. I said the 12 Angry Women movie. Get it out of here.
Did I say they had any reason not to be angry? I'm just saying that as a screenplay, they have every reason to be angry. I don't know.
They should have called it "Bitches the Movie."
Brandon,
Guys,
quit.
guys,
Quit.
I saw critic reviews that were saying the same thing after I deleted that piece of my review.
That doesn't make it okay.
I'm just saying it's funny. It's a funny thing.
Then just stop saying.
I don't think it's funny.
I don't really think it's funny. I think it's funny that
sit
you
his ass
said.
down and listen.
I think it was funny that Tori dunked on you. That's why.
I just don't think it was that well written of a movie. If I'm being honest.
I do think it was a very well written movie. So I think you're wrong there, but
I think it was a weak year for adapted screenplay. I do.
I think the Batman should have been nominated.
Yeah.
The Batman should absolutely been nominated for adapted screenplay over like All Quiet on the Western Front or like even I don't think Top Gun should have been nominated. That's not
No.
really
How is it adapted?
Because
it's a
If it's a
The
sequel.
first movie?
If it's a
Sequels.
sequel, like
That's how they did it?
Knives Out, Glass Onions adapted.
But
Oh,
the original
some of them
was
are
original.
sequels.
Yeah. So if it's a sequel, it gets put in adapted. And actually there was a whole thing with Banshees because apparently it's technically based on a play that Martin McDonagh wrote in the past.
But
It was never
got published.
produced,
Yeah.
Oh.
but if he had claimed it to be adapted, then Banshees could have walked away with an Oscar yesterday.
That's true.
I don't know. It's
You
just
think it would have
like,
beaten Women Talking?
I think honestly, yeah.
Wow.
If it was, and
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think everybody really liked Banshees. Was just one of those movies that like it got so many nominations for a reason. Like
Yeah.
the Academy liked it to a certain extent. It didn't get people as excited as Everything Everywhere. And honestly, like I'm happy about Everything Everywhere's success. I think it was the movie that I wanted to win Best Picture for sure. And even directing, I'm really happy for the Daniels. But in terms of the writing, I think the writing's really original. It's really great. It's an awesome story. I don't think it's like the movie's necessarily like the thing that makes it the strongest. Because I think it's all about the execution. And like I said, I think it's a directing achievement more than a writing achievement. Because even Everything Everywhere, in my opinion, it has its fair share of flat jokes. I think sometimes it's trying a little too hard to be like cheeky and kind of cute. Like I don't know, sometimes the humor in it annoyed me a little bit. But I don't know, it's just such a bummer that a movie like Banshees, which is so well written, and I think it's like one of the best screenplays. And even I'll go to bat for Brandon's. Like Tar is so, oh my god, it's like that movie's like intimidatingly intelligent. And it's like it's a shame that movies like those like go home empty-handed because I think they're just so deserving as well.
I would have voted for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my pick for adapted. Tar, like you said, it's so compelling from beginning because I look at Tar as a movie and you listen to them just have monologue after monologue or interviews or even just conversations between people. And maybe it's the performances directed by Field bringing it out of the actors in the script to make it that way. But it is absolutely engaging, and it shouldn't be because it is a movie that is super long and that is super meaty in terms of what it's talking about. But that's like a screenplay that like the writing stands out. The writing is the movie. And that is the thing that I will give Women Talking out of any of the other movies that are for adapted screenplay, is that the writing is the movie.
It really is. Yeah.
So.
And also, like, after watching, and I walked out originally of Women Talking a little lukewarm, because I thought like the writing was really good, but I think as a whole the structure can feel a little aimless at times because it is one long conversation. But after the movie, I listened to a bunch of podcasts and interviews with Sarah Polley, and she is like so intelligent and just such an interesting person. And just hearing her discuss why she made the creative decisions she did made me really recontextualize that whole movie. And I think if I watched it again, I would really like it a lot more. And I just have so much respect and admiration for her. Like, I've been telling Tori, I've kind of developed a bit of a crush on Sarah Polley through this whole award circuit, just because, like, I just respect her so much. And, like, I'm really happy she won. I think she's deserving, and I think Women Talking's a really important film. And it's a bummer it didn't have more success. But I'm glad it walked away with something. And I think Sarah Polley's incredibly deserving, and she's definitely someone I'm going to be keeping an eye out on and seeing what she does next.
There's one scene in Women Talking that I can't get out of my head that does make me like the film. I do like the movie. I think it's I wish it wouldn't feel like an obligation for the Academy to vote for something because it's directed by a woman and is an important subject matter, because I don't think we should have that. I think we should have like a situation where there's just a great film directed by a woman that deserves to get recognition. But the problem is based in producing and production companies not putting their faith behind women and campaigning them. And my favorite scene in Women Talking is, and I was talking to Evelyn on the way back from your guys' party last night about it. And there's that scene where it's like, you're not quite sure if I wasn't, I don't know about you guys, but you're never quite sure when this takes place because it's a Mennonite group. And you're like, is this a period piece? And it's that scene where like that car pulls up playing the monkey
Adrian
song.
Believer.
Yeah. And it's terrific because it recontextualizes the movie for you and is like, okay, no, this is a problem that's still happening. This isn't a period piece.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Sarah Polley has talked
great.
about that in one of her interviews, is that she intentionally made it so you didn't know where it took place, both in location and in time. And I think that was a really effective
narrative
choice.
Timeless, you know?
Yeah.
Which is
because
unfortunate.
It's a timeless topic, you know, and it's something that needs to be discussed.
See, but that alone was good, I think.
I also think it could have picked up some serious acting noms.
I
think Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley were like so good in that movie, but I think why they didn't get that is because for some reason they kept focusing on Frances McDormand, like in all the marketing and everything, and I'm like,
she's in 2 scenes,
barely in the movie, and she's like not even doing anything, you know, she's just staring, and it just like that made me angry because like there's so much talent in that group. When they're like going at each other and debating and arguing, you know, there's like so much raw acting talent there that they just somehow, like, a movie so focused on that, like, decide to not focus on that.
I didn't think Jessie Buckley or Claire Foy were the ones that stood out to me in that movie. It was like the other Mennonite actresses.
Like
the notes. No, like the older one, the one with the glasses, like the younger one with the glasses. Those ones stuck out to me more than the Hollywood actresses involved. I don't know about you, Tori or Joey. What did you guys think?
I don't know. I don't know actresses.
Yeah, but
it's tough when it's an ensemble like that, because the movie it's designed so that none of them necessarily stand out. And the reason Frances McDormand was a producer on it, and she was actually the reason it got made. She was the one that bought the book rights and like kind of got the financing and all that. And she knew that if she didn't put her face on it, then the movie wouldn't get any attention. So I understand why she was the centerpiece of the advertising. But that movie, by design, it's an ensemble. Nobody's meant to necessarily stand out more than any other. And I think that's a reason why the acting nominations never happened, even if they were deserving. It's because there was probably dispute over who gets nominated. Like, who do we pick over the other ones? Because everyone is equally like deserving of it. Like that whole cast does a really good job with that material, and it's tough to have a standout to represent that film.
Do you think they should?
Yeah,
sorry. I'm gonna move on to something else that's bouncing off this, but you go first.
I was just gonna say the sad thing is the closest woman talking probably got to an acting nomination was Ben Whishaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he's the one man, and immediately because of that, he sticks out.
Do you think they should award ensembles like they do at SAG?
Yes. Stunt and acting.
I feel like an ensemble is like a thing that needs to be like awarded on its own. You know,
it's yes. The only thing I'll say to that is that it may end up just usually one of the big rules of thumb is that whoever wins best ensemble at SAG is immediately like a best picture front runner, especially in previous years. So the risk of doing that at the Oscars is it may just end up whoever wins best picture just gets another automatic award.
It's a redundant award.
Or they should award casting directors.
Casting, yes, I feel like that's 100%.
Because you're like, that's the person in charge of creating such this strong cast, and they should be awarded for that, you know?
Yes, that's sort of the last thing we should probably discuss before wrapping it up is what do you think they could do to improve the Oscars as a whole from this ceremony to the next or at certain categories? Because we know they toyed with the idea of a Best Popular Film Academy Award a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then they did that stupid what was that? What was it? The Oscars fan favorite
where the Flash enters the Speed Force was the best moment. That was awesome. I love that.
Or the Johnny Depp movie that nobody had ever heard about.
Oh yeah. I got a couple. Casting directors I think should be awarded. I think stunt work should be awarded. I love that they brought back the singular host. I missed that. I didn't like it when it was just a bunch of people, you know. But just bring someone that's not Jimmy Kimmel. I'm tired of him.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think more cool montages, you know? I remember Tori retweeted the Charlie Chaplin and Shrek thing. They need to do more fun stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Just I don't know, more they should have fun and make jokes at the Oscars, but like make it a bit more celebratory in like the humor, you know, where you do stuff like that, you know, instead of you know, telling Spielberg to say like mommy stuff or whatever, or like having a guy in a bear suit, you know, assault people. You know, I don't know. That those are things that just a few of my ideas. What do you guys think?
I continue to be curious about, and I pray this is a future we'll need to figure this out with, but how we're going to handle best acting awards for gender nonconforming people.
Yes, I mean,
and honestly, my shortcoming is that I have not read enough trans perspectives on that. But that's something I like. Come on, it's 2023. That's something we need to figure out soon.
Mm-hmm.
I do fear if we just do acting as one award, we're gonna lose a lot of great performances, and it's just gonna go to a lot of men.
Is gonna go to
So I'm trying to figure out what the solution to that would be, but that's something I always think about when I do think about these award shows.
They're probably just never gonna nominate somebody who's unfortunate because it's like, think about it, right? I feel like for like Elliot Page, it's pretty obvious, like for a situation like that. But for somebody who's non-binary, I don't understand. What do we do?
Yeah, so you know how the Hollywood Reporter does? There's like actors and actresses roundtable.
Yeah.
In the actresses roundtable this year, there was one actor who I forget their name, but they're on The Crown, Emma something. And they actually said on there that they're more femme presenting, but they are in fact non-binary. But to just and it you could just tell there were a few moments where they felt uncomfortable because because they are more femme presenting, they had to like go onto the actresses roundtable, and you could tell like at times when the other actresses were talking about like their experience as women and as female performers, they didn't feel as included because that's not their experience.
Yeah.
So I think Tori's absolutely right that it is something that needs to be addressed, and I think it's just a matter of like like having better non-binary representation within the academy. That's like a start. But then in terms of how you would actually categorize the acting nominations, I think eventually we're going to reach a point where it can all just be one performance. Like, it doesn't have to be gendered, but like, yeah, I think we're at a point in time where we're not there yet, where I can trust the Academy not to just nominate a bunch of white dudes.
Instead,
or just dudes in general.
They might do, to avoid the award problem, they would probably have to split the acting categories into two, and instead of dividing it based on actress, they might do it by genre.
Oh.
Where it would be like the Globes sort of thing.
I kind of like that.
Maybe.
If I'm going to give the Globes credit for anything, I actually do like that they kind of have a category for comedy and drama, because
they never nominate comedies or drama, like, or musicals. Like, I always feel like
think
you're like, this
it
is
would
a musical
allow-
and comedy. You know,
Maybe it'd be
allow-
best drama versus best genre movie instead of best comedy or musical.
It could be, but like I just think it expands the number of nominations that there are, and it highlights more performances. And not only that, like in previous years, there's been a lot of comedic performances, because the Oscars hate comedy usually, that are arguably more impressive than some of the dramatic ones. And I think other genres, especially comedy and horror, are the two big ones that the Academy just does not fuck with.
Where is John Cena in Blockers? Where's his Academy Award?
Or
Good movie.
It is a good movie.
Tom
It's a
Hanks and
funny one.
Elvis. That is one of the funniest performances I've ever watched in my life, and like unironically, he should be critically acclaimed for that one.
He's critically acclaimed by the Razzies.
That's true. But yeah, I think they should, like, in a perfect world where people don't have any sort of biases towards any gender, it would just be best actor, and I feel like it would have like 10 nominees instead of 5. You know,
That would be most ideal.
They do
I
that
hope we
perfect
can get to a
non-judgmental
point.
world. You know,
I forget, where do they do that? They do that in an awards show. I just don't
I
remember
think
which one.
Critics' Choice.
Critics' Choice does that,
I think
Oh.
Critics' Choice does that.
but they
Who
do.
wins?
yeah,
Usually men, so it's unfortunate.
Speaking of men winning awards, I'm continually depressed by the director
Director.
awards.
Yeah.
Year after year, I promise you, it like breaks my heart to hear the nominees be read off.
and they even joke about it, which just seems so distasteful.
Yeah, it's like, fix it then.
Like,
And
then
it's
fix-
not the nominees that's the problem. I don't think. I think it's the production companies, the producers that fail to campaign for their female directors. It's the companies that fail to even put female directors in the role in the first place. And yes, it does trickle down to the Oscars. Like, obviously, After Sun should have been nominated for Best Director,
amongst others.
amongst many others. But it's just, that's very exhausting, and I think it kind of circles on itself, where now I feel like I shouldn't direct because what's the point and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they should also, because now I'm thinking of like, who are some women that could have been in this year's category, you know?
Domi Shi for Turning Red.
Yeah, Charlotte
Honestly?
Wells.
And if we're talking about, this has never happened, at least correct me if I'm wrong, has a director of a documentary ever been nominated for
No.
Best Director?
No.
Not it-
Sarah
not
Joseph
it.
for
That would bring women in.
for Sarah Joseph for Fire Love. Like, that was literally, like, the way she constructed that story
Mm-hmm.
was phenomenal, and I think she should have been nominated for that, you know? Like,
Like
Fire Love was one of my favorite movies last year.
Petite Maman, if it was like allowed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like even for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, like that was, oh my god.
Well, we're just
Like, that
talking
was
about
so
this.
well
I
directed.
feel like
I know this year, but like Celine Sciamma should have been
Yeah.
nominated for that movie. There's multiple instances where she could have been nominated, and I just don't buy the argument like, oh, we've had back-to-back female winners. Like, pat on your back, like we're good. That I think we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go.
I
I'm
don't
not gonna
think we're
feel like-
good.
I'm not gonna feel like things are fixed until we see 5 women nominated. Because if it can accidentally happen all these years and it's still
Yeah.
men, it's not an accident. It's
No.
gonna be an accident when it's 5 women in the category.
Yeah, and even if female directors were nominated, usually it's only like 1 or 2 of the 5.
Yeah.
It's still disproportionate. And yeah, it's 100% something. And yeah, it's the industry as a whole. It's a problem with the industry as a whole. Like, I think the Academy, like, to get nominated, it requires a lot of money, like millions of dollars. And usually the movies that have those big of budgets are the ones helmed by men. And that's an industry-wide issue.
I mean, I would have given it to Jenna Prince Blythewood of The Woman King, but I know how you feel about that movie, Joe.
Well, geez, throw me under the bus, like as if I'm like, I'm saying
Tell your
some
executive
shit.
so
Yeah, she was nominated. I would have been pissed. No,
We
I
know
don't
you would
care.
have been pissed.
I don't fucking care. I don't care. I want to see. I want to see a better industry. Like I'm not. The movies that get nominated, I'm not like entirely biased because really, like for instance, Everything Everywhere, not my favorite movie. If anything, I think it's like 4th in my ranking of the Best Picture nominees. I still rooted it for it to win because I understand its impact on the industry, and that goes for seeing like if more female directors were nominated, even if they weren't movies that I particularly liked, I would still be happy because that would be showing a change in the industry. I would still root for that because I understand the effect that the Academy has.
I just want it to be a genuine thing, and I don't want it to be a manufactured thing. You know, I want everything to be deserving, and I don't want them to make the public sound like, oh, it's just they're trying to push wokeness because inclusivity equals that. You know what I'm saying?
To counter that, Brandon, though, like, it just sucks that we live in a place where, like, it kind of has to be that way until we can get to the part where it's just, like, normal, you know?
Yeah.
That's literally the only way where we can get to that normalcy of equality amongst directors in the nomination, you know?
But who's to say that when it actually does happen that people, like, they'll be like, none of these films are deserving. Like, what if they act like that? That's crazy. That could happen. I know,
but
we know
like
how Hollywood
the
works.
inner
it's
cynic
very
in me says that's probably not gonna happen.
And also, like, even if like no movie gets nominated, let's say even if it was nominated for, you know, to promote inclusivity, like the movie isn't just going to be without merit. Like there's still going to be things that people can respect and appreciate, and it's going to be introducing them to a new demographic of filmmakers. And I think that's important. So like in terms of manufacturing it or whatever, like I kind of on the side of Ethan where I think that's kind of a step that needs to be had in order to seek out filmmakers that wouldn't receive representation otherwise.
Yeah. I'm not on any side.
Oh, classic centrist.
You relax.
Okay.
I just want to create discussion.
And the last thing I would add to the Oscars is, I mean, we're seeing it at a lot of film festivals, so I'm surprised the Academy hasn't caught up, but we're seeing a lot more land acknowledgments at the beginning of shows like this. So it's just surprising that they haven't caught up and added a land acknowledgement to the top of their show yet.
Oh yeah.
What's that? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
We're on stolen land.
Oh,
so
that.
it's important to
Yeah.
acknowledge that when we are taking up this space in a worldwide stage. So they'd probably acknowledge that they're doing it in the land of the Tongva people, that we're there because of the Tongva people.
This industry is booming because of them. You know?
Yeah. And just taking time to acknowledge that and put it into the space before we start.
Yeah. Also, one more thing. I want to bitch about international feature. All Quiet on the Western Front. I totally forgot about this.
Where's Decision to Leave? Where was Decision to Leave?
No, I think none of you guys saw this, but Close, that Belgian movie was so good.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about
It-
Close.
Oh, that it is like it is such a good movie about deconstructing like masculinity and social norms when it comes to like sexuality and stuff like that amongst children, and how this shit starts when you're just a kid and the effects that it has on that. It's such a good film, and I think it's made by a gay director. Should have been just praised. It was so good. Instead, I had just to go to the fucking Mr. Burger's war movie. You know,
That was
I-
made
I-
twice
I-
before.
Doesn't sound like my kind of movie.
you can skip it, Tori. I don't think you'd like it.
I really regret. I did pretty bad. I made a good effort to keep up with all the short films and pretty much all the Best Picture nominees this year. Like I watched I would say maybe 80% of the nominees. I did not do very well in the international category. I only saw All Quiet. And I thought Decision to Leave was gonna get in there. But it didn't. And I've just heard like nothing but great things about the other films, and it feels like there's just like a consensus shrug at All Quiet on the Western Front. There's
It's
some people who
because-
love it, but I understand it's topical because there's a big war going on. But it just in terms of war films, and if you follow me on Letterboxd, you can read my critique on All Quiet.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what that movie does with its so-called beautiful style that exemplifies war is bad.
Do you want
Because
to
it is
know
beautifully
why it got
shot,
in?
it is graceful, it is like so well constructed to the point where it's like it feels like I think it was Godard who said it, that any war film is you can't make an anti-war film because if you are recreating a war, you are inherently glorifying it. And I think the movie I've seen, now granted, I'm not a big fan of the war genre, so I haven't dipped my toes too deep, but Saving Private Ryan by our guy Spielberg is a film that really shows how brutal war is. And that's largely thanks to the cinematography and the editing and everything that's constructed that he does in that film is just does such an amazing job to show how ugly war is, because it's an ugly looking movie by design. And All Quiet, I think the style is like, yeah, it's like well shot, but does that really like help sell the theme? Not in my opinion.
It got nominated because Netflix pushed it, and it was the only film that Netflix had that was going to get nominated. White Noise wasn't going to get nominated. Glass Onion wasn't going to get nominated. So they were like desperate, and they picked All Quiet because it has the Best Picture pedigree. It's a foreign film, so they knew they could get an Oscar out of it, at least, for Best International Feature. It didn't win based on the merits, even though I know a lot of people like it. A lot of people, if you look at the nominees for International Feature, they would probably have it ranked number 2 or 3, maybe 4.
So did
Even.
Netflix produce it or did they just distribute it?
I think they just distributed it.
Okay, so I was gonna say if they produced it, that wouldn't make it an international feature like a Triangle of Sadness.
No, they distributed it.
Oh.
That's why,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunate because I've heard nothing but great things about the other films, but the only other that made a peep, the only international film that made a peep was Argentina 1985 won the Globe,
Oh yeah.
and
And
that's
they're
on
just
Amazon
like not
Prime.
really, they weren't really promoted. I don't really know where to watch them.
One's
they
on
weren't,
Prime,
like-
one's on Criterion, and the other 2 are in theaters.
Yeah,
See,
but
you do know.
well, now I know. Thank you, Brandon. But that's what I'm saying is like, Brandon, you probably got that information because you seeked it out. Now you're a better man than me for wanting to keep up with all the nominees. But like,
I
where
didn't
was
watch
that
them,
advertised?
so.
I know, but like, you know where to find them. But where was that advertised? I didn't know where to find them. Like, it felt like All Quiet was the one international film that I saw received extensive promotion, and that's because it had Netflix money behind it.
Got the
Yeah.
billboards.
Yeah.
Got them fucking billboards. Yeah, I feel like you can now tell who's gonna win by the billboards. That's how I predicted the animated short. As much as you guys love that one,
Oh
that
yeah,
movie.
Tori,
I should
please.
have gone for it. Yeah, based on
Tori,
the billboards.
please
'Cause
dive in.
That's the only time I've ever seen an animated short get billboards. You know what I mean? I was like, what the hell? Why is that getting a billboard?
I want to give Tori the stage real
Yeah.
quick and have her give her thoughts on the animated shorts and particularly the winner.
Yeah.
The boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse.
The horse.
Sure.
Too long and it sucks.
It's just inspirational quotes.
It's a coffee table book movie.
It's literally a coffee table book.
And I cried watching it. It's just
jerking off its feel-good dick, and it doesn't actually say anything.
It says a lot of things, actually. You're enough.
It says, "Get back up, buddy."
But
Grow up.
But nobody here thought it was the best. Nobody
it was the worst
here,
one.
I was like, I was really rooting for Ice Merchants or Year of Dicks, and I also really loved the ostrich one as well. Yeah. Like I thought the animated shorts, like all of them except the boy fox mole horse whatever the fuck movie, like I thought they were all fucking phenomenal. Like I thought in their own ways were all like really good, and of course the one with Apple Money wins, which is it's depressing, and that was a category for the first time ever I watched all the nominees. And Tori and I went to a screening of it and we had a great time. Like I love going to the short screenings because it feels like the movie like you're watching a feature-length film because it's a bunch of films put together, but it resets itself every 20 to 30 minutes. And afterwards it's so fun, like deciding like, oh, which ones you liked, what you liked about them. Like you have like a lot to talk about. Like I had a blast doing that and the documentary shorts. And yeah, that I was disappointed that more deserving winners did not win. In fact, so
see, but that usually happens at the Oscars. You know, I don't think for nominations they actually usually do have the best ones picked out. I don't know if you guys have like watched videos on how they pick the nominations, but they usually assign committees to people to watch all the shortlisted animated films, and they usually pick the 5 best ones. But then when they give it to the whole Academy, they're only going to watch the ones that are either the most easily accessible, or they're just going to vote for the ones with that have big names attached.
Yeah.
Or maybe watch the shortest ones, which is why I'm surprised that the boy, whatever the fuck.
It wasn't that long. It's not like it wasn't a chore.
It was 35 minutes,
It was
man.
a chore.
35 minutes.
Ethan, I know it says like all these things, but like
no, I don't care. I don't care what you think about it.
Inspirational quotes. They literally we could literally say that to you right now, and it would be in the exact same context as in that movie. Because
you like that video.
They would just say things at random.
It's a video, not a film.
It was at random. The animation's beautiful. I like the little mole.
I agree.
I like the mole.
The mole likes cake. It's funny.
The mole is cute, and I want that mole. I want that mole as a friend. I get it. But like the characters would just spout out the most like random ass like inspirational quotes that come out of nowhere, and because of that they hold no thematic levity.
And then their besties at the end when they've gone through nothing.
Yeah.
Or they're like, I'm so glad you love me with my flaws. What flaws?
What flaws does that kid have?
Flaws.
They're a family now. It's so stupid. Ice Merchants is so compelling and beautiful, and it didn't have to say a word.
No.
And it's also a climate change movie too.
Ice Merchants and Year of Dicks were both fantastic.
My Year of Dicks is a great fucking nominate that for best picture, best director.
I love that. That felt like a Richard Linklater movie.
It did.
Like, it was so cool. Like I loved it. I loved the voice. I loved the style.
It felt like a Satoshi Kon movie. That's my hot take.
My only problem with My Year of Dicks was I wasn't always the fan of the animation style. I like how it changed from short to short, but I never was like vibing with like one of them in particular.
I liked that it was a little messy.
What's it called where you film it and then you just paint it over?
Rotoscoping.
Yeah.
I don't really love rotoscoping.
Style. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it.
Yeah, but I like the
style so much.
Yeah. But I like the writing and I like the story. I dug that.
I actually really like the animation though, because I think it did a really good job of putting it into the psychology of the character, putting the audience in the psychology of the character, and like really kind of. I mean, it is a flashback. That movie is about this person recanting her teenage years, trying to lose her virginity, and because naturally, like your brain is going to heighten certain emotions, and I think the animation did that beautifully, like expressing how this character was feeling. So I actually really dug the style. I thought the style was fantastic for the story.
So did Turning Red.
Turning red
the
is so
flying
good.
sailor when the sailor's little pee-pee flew around.
I loved that. I was like, this is crazy.
This dude likes
Yeah.
peepees.
I like the pee-pee.
Yeah, but that happened to me before.
That did happen to you. I remember.
That was
I saw
based
it.
on a true story.
Yeah.
Joe's
The
story.
flying
Yeah,
sailor.
it happened to me.
Yeah.
I got blown up. I flew.
He's okay.
With your
now.
little pee-pee.
I saw the entire universe, and
And I saw his
came
little
back.
pee-pee flying around. I thought that's my guy.
And on that note, we're running a bit long here.
Nah, who cares?
Pee-pee flying around.
Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Stacked, where we recapped the Oscars. Joey, Tori, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
I'll put
my
their
lo-
address in the description. Don't worry.
Yeah, we live in the same house, so it's just one address. What's my letterboxd?
Tori McJew.
It's probably Tori McJew. So is my
It'll-
Venmo if you want to
Ethan-
send a tip.
Yeah, Ethan,
It'll all
put
be down
Tori's letterbox and
My
Venmo
Twitter's
down in
Tori
the
Mc-
thing.
Under-
Venmo,
Underscore
I'll put the
McJew?
Venmo down.
Please.
Pay
It was
the
Women's Day
woman.
on the 8th, so you still owe me my tip.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if you need a sound mixer. Let me know if you need an intimacy coordinator. Let me know if you need a director.
Oh, there we go.
Jojo?
Yeah, you know where to find me. Follow me on Letterboxd for all my steaming hot takes.
They stink.
And
Stinking hot.
yeah, you can also find me out on the streets of Burbank. So come look for me.
Look hard. Won't be easy. Brandon, where they can find you?
They know what?
You can find Brandon at Knott's Berry Farm
Knott's Berry Farm.
or AMC Norwalk.
But not on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah, then go to the AMC Norwalk.
They come to my house, knock on the door, and we
Yes.
can watch a movie together. And then yeah.
Good luck parking though. So
Don't get
He'll
to.
pick you up from Knott.
I'll pick you up from Knott's. It's cool. No
and
worries.
you guys can't find me anywhere. I exist just
In a vacuum.
in a vacuum.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, really.
And let's keep it that way.
Let's keep it that way. I exist in a little bird's nest in a tree that is unnamed. That's where I live.
I'm gonna shoot you down with an arrow one day.
I'm gonna shoot you in the head with a gun.